Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name's Em, and for today's video I'm going to be sharing the 22 books I read in January. So today's video is going to be my January reading wrap up. It's going to be a long one because I read 22 books. I don't know how I did that. Don't ask me, I don't know. I'm going to use my little reading journal, which I will probably upload a flip through of next week. I do have my little monthly stats page, so I thought I would just share that with you. So in January I read 22 books, which was 7,363 pages. I had 2 5-star reads and I bought 33 books. So it's safe to say that I am now on a book buying ban until I finish the majority of the ones that I have bought, because 33 is quite a lot, so I will not be buying any more for a while. I'm not gonna get the physical books out because honestly I can't be bothered to like get them all off the shelf and then have to remember where they went. So I will just put pictures of the covers on the screen so you know which book I'm talking about. I'm gonna try and do this as quickly as I can. I'm gonna try and like summarize the book, my thoughts, but also not give too many spoilers and not make this super long. So the first book that I read in January was Killjoy by Holly Jackson. I think I read this on the 1st of January. It's the prequel to the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, which is one of my favourite series of all time. Basically how Pip comes to decide the topic of her EPQ. I gave this one 4 stars and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool to see like how Pip came to the conclusion of like what she wanted to write her EPQ on, and I love Pip. I just love her. She is such like a girl boss. Yeah, I love Pip. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was just quite fun. So yeah, I definitely recommend reading it if you love the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. Obviously, if you have not started that series yet, I would recommend starting with Killjoy, since it is the prequel, it is what happens before, and then move on. Obviously, I read it after reading the whole thing, but I guess that's because it did come out last. So yeah, but I really enjoyed it, definitely recommend, gave it 4 stars. The next book I read in January, A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow by Laura Taylor Namey. This one I gave 3 stars and I read it just because I wanted to read it before the film adaptation comes out. Main characters, the love interests, are played by Myra Fico and Kit Connor. Both of them play like my favourite characters in 2 of my favourite TV shows, so to have them play love interests in a film, I'm so excited. I think it was a good book. Obviously I gave it 3 stars, which to me 3 stars is like a solid book, but like nothing revolutionary. So yeah, this book I thought was good. It wasn't anything revolutionary in terms of like romance, there wasn't much of it. Definitely a slow burn. Overall, like there wasn't really much happening. The plot was just kind of slow, the romance was slow. Next book I read was Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, who obviously wrote The Love Hypothesis. I think I've talked about The Love Hypothesis on my channel before, and I did give that one like 5 stars when I read it. My camera is flashing at me already, so that's good. I don't know if I read The Love Hypothesis again now, I would give it 5 stars again. I don't know. But Love on the Brain, I feel like I enjoyed it. It's a workplace romance. Obviously it's STEM, so like based on science. I think I just preferred The Love Hypothesis over this one. Anyway, this one is obviously workplace romance. Grumpy Sunshine, it was a lot of fun to read. I did enjoy it. However, like it wasn't like my favourite book. I don't know, I just don't feel like, I feel like there was something missing. I don't know what it was, but there was just something missing. So I felt like the STEM, I know that's like Ali Hazelwood's thing, but I feel like the STEM storylines are like repetitive for me, and I feel like I read that in The Love Hypothesis and I wasn't like keen on it this time. The next book was The Girls by Lisa Jewell. I read The Family Upstairs back in like 2021 I think, and I really enjoyed that book, so I was excited to read more of Lisa Jewell's books. However, this one did not cut it for me. I gave it 2 stars, which I don't usually rate books like low, but I feel like the first half of the book was really slow. There was a lot of like, I feel like it was unnecessarily slow. It took so long to get to like the event, and then when I got to the event, like midway through the book, it wasn't nearly as dark or gripping as I was expecting it to be from like what I've read previously and like how the book was marketed. I just don't feel like it was there. It just wasn't catching me. I didn't feel like I wasn't like invested in this, like I really didn't care, and yet the outcome just wasn't like what I was expecting it to be, so I was just disappointed. Maybe that's my own fault for having expectations, but yeah, this one only got 2 stars. The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. I gave this one 4 stars. I personally really enjoyed the book. I thought it was super fun. I loved like the characters. I loved the like relationship that they built. Aaron is just chef's kiss. Love him. Fake dating is one of my favorite tropes of all time, so I personally really enjoyed it. Obviously it was also kind of like workplace because they did work together. Kind of enemies to lovers or like rivals to lovers, I don't really know. Definitely didn't like each other before to lovers. Yeah, I just really enjoyed this book. I know a lot of people don't and a lot of people do. It's kind of like love it or hate it, but I personally really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun read, so that's why I gave it 4 stars. The next book I read was The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. I gave this one 3.8 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought the concept was quite cool. This is basically a book about a dating site or like date matchmaking thing that's based off of like your DNA, so like how well your DNA is like matched. Yeah, it's hard to explain, but like that's basically the premise of it. And the creator of the matchmaking thing matches like super high, like unnaturally, like you don't usually see it that high, with this girl that like they definitely don't get along. There was like a twist kind of like towards the end that was quite cool, because then you got to see like how much these people had fallen for each other. It did take a while for the relationship to get going, so there isn't like much romance at the start and it kind of takes a while to get into it, but when it does, it's worth it. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was fun. Would definitely recommend if you're looking for like a fun little quick read. The book I read was The Girls I've Been by Tessa Sharp. I gave this one 3 stars. I was kind of disappointed with this one, I'm not gonna lie. A girl whose mum was a con artist and taught her to be one, and she's had many different like personas in her life, and she one day finds herself in the middle of a bank robbery. She uses her skills to figure stuff out. The main character is bisexual, so the friends that she's with actually aren't friends. So the people that she's with is her current girlfriend and her ex-boyfriend, so it gets a little bit awkward. It is dual timeline, so there is like, you see what's happening at the bank and then you see her throughout her life, and it was done quite well. I did like it. It was a solid book, but I feel like there was just something missing. The next book I read was If We Were Villains by M.I. Rio. I gave it 2 stars. On Goodreads, the majority of the reviews are 5 stars, so I was really fucking excited to read this book. Like, you have no idea. I was so excited to read it because I thought it sounded so good. I'm gonna love this book, right up my alley. I was wrong. I was very wrong. I'm really sorry to anyone that loves this book because I can see why people love it, but for me it was a big no. I don't know if it's like my disdain for like classic books and Shakespeare. This book is very Shakespearean vibes, language wise, and obviously these are like the people that are in it are like Shakespeare students, like they are like theatre students or like Shakespearean. Yeah, the style of the book for me made it really difficult to get through. I'm really sorry because I know that it's a very popular book and my opinion is definitely the minority, but I think honestly it was just personally, I don't like Shakespearean stuff. I don't like the language. I just never liked it. never got on with it, and I feel like that probably was the reason I did not like this book. Next book I read was actually an audiobook. This is the first audiobook that I've ever like listened to. I listened to it while I was at work, and that was Spare by Prince Harry. Sorry if the angle or lighting or anything changed. My battery died and I ran out of space in my memory card, so like I was saying, I listened to Spare because I didn't want to buy the book, because I'm not gonna lie, hardbacks are expensive. First of all, I just want to say I don't rate non-fiction books, because I feel like rating a book about somebody's life, it just feels weird to me. So I don't rate them. I will say I think that it was a really good book to listen to. I am glad that I like read it. A really detailed recount of his life, not the media's perspective, because fuck the British media. The next book that I read was Read Between the Lines by Rachel Lacey. I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I loved the like dynamic that the two of them had, the two main characters. One is a bookseller and book nerd, and one is a author, like undercover author. I loved Rosie a lot, who is the bookseller. I loved Rosie. I feel like I just wanted to protect her. Did really enjoy this book. Like I said, I liked the dynamic that they had. However, I feel like the romance, there could have been a bit more romance, because I just didn't feel it all the time. I did still give this one 4 stars because I did really enjoy the book. The 11th book that I read in January, we're halfway through, was The Coldest Touch by Isabel Sterling. So I gave this one 3 stars, and I was actually really disappointed because I think I've also talked about it on my channel before, but I love the These Witches Don't Burn duology. A paranormal romance, which I love paranormal stuff. I love anything paranormal, like paranormal storylines, paranormal shows, anything. I love it. So it's a lesbian vampire and a bisexual death oracle. I would definitely read a sequel that focuses more on their relationship, because I don't think we got enough. The thing that let this book down was I feel like it had a lot of forced diversity. Diversity in books and media is super important, and it's definitely something that all like media outlets should aim for, is a good like range of a good diversity range. Diversity is something that needs to be there, but it needs to be there like in an organic way, and it doesn't need to like have a big deal made out of it. Like, it's not their entire personality trait. That's what kind of let it down, because it felt like it was more of a box checking exercise to win points rather than like for the importance of having diversity, if that makes sense. The next book was also an audiobook that I listened to at work, and that was Jeanette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mum Died. I had one more credit left on Audible, so I decided to listen to this one. I'm glad I did. Jeanette has been through so much, and she is like such a strong human. I really respect that girl. However, for me, as an emetophobe, I could have done without the descriptions of throwing up. That could have been great, because I wasn't prepared for those, and it happened more than once. So just a warning, if you do struggle with that, or you do have emetophobia, that is there. So yeah. 13th book I think we're on now that I read was Twisted Love by Anna Huang. So I gave this one 3 stars. Obviously the Twisted series is super popular across all the book platforms. Twisted Love is the first book in the series. I have the other 3, which I will be getting to probably this month. Not all of them, but at least the next one. I really like this book. It did have some good tropes. Grumpy Sunshine, brother's best friend, touch her and I'll kill you vibe. Now, I love that. I fucking love touch her and I'll kill you. That's just, I mean, who doesn't? However, this guy, Alex, personally was a little bit uncomfortable in some places, because I feel like it was a bit much. Like, it was quite heavy on that, and I don't know, yeah, it just made me uncomfortable. There was a few situations where he was, especially towards other women, a bit hostile, and when I say a bit hostile, quite a bit hostile. And for me that just was a big no, and it just made me uncomfortable. So yeah, that did let this book down in my opinion. I've heard that this one is like one of the worst ones in the series, that it just gets better, so I will be reading the rest of the series and hopefully it does get better. Next book I read was my first 5-star read of the year, and that was 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. Now Holly Jackson's brain, I don't know what's going on in there, but it is incredible. This book was an incredible like mystery thriller. It was gripping, like I was like on the edge of my seat. Ending of every chapter made you want to keep reading, and I love when that happens. I love when I physically cannot put a book down because I'm like sat there like gasping, like fully like audibly gasping at a book. The plot of this book is that there's a group of friends who are going on spring break, but they take like an RV and they get lost in the middle of nowhere, and basically someone is out there and they are targeting them because they believe that one of them has a secret and they want to know the secret. And yeah, it gets pretty dark, it gets a bit insane, and it's just amazing. I just fucking love this book. There was so many plot twists, especially towards the end. There was so many plot twists and they were all so unexpected. I mean, for me personally, I didn't see them coming, and I just thought they were so good, so well done, so gripping. Yeah, Holly Jackson's brain is just something else. Next book I read was Careless by Kirsty Capes. I gave this one 3 stars. This was a okay read. Like, I did like it in some places. It was a solid book. I didn't have any like big feelings towards it. I wasn't overly attached to any of the characters, not even the main character. Pretty much it's a book about a girl who's been in care most of her life, and then she gets pregnant at 15, I think. So why do books insist on not having speech marks? It is infuriating to me. I hate it so much. I didn't like Normal People because that was one of the reasons. I hated no speech marks. Just put them. It's not that difficult. The next book I read in January was my next 5-star read, and that was Ignite Me by Tahira Mafi. This was the 3rd book in the Shatter Me series, and it is the like final book in the trilogy. It was a really good end to the trilogy. I loved seeing Juliet's journey to like becoming so strong. I love her. She is, I want to protect her with my whole life. She could crush me, but I want to protect her. Aaron Warner is just whoa, just whoa. I don't know who I'm more obsessed with. This book was just so good. I don't want to talk about it too much because obviously it is the 3rd book in a trilogy, so if you haven't even read the 1st one yet, I don't want to give spoilers. So just know this is definitely one of my favourite books in the Shatter Me series. I have nearly finished the Shatter Me series, and this was definitely one of my favourites. The next book I read was Kiss Her Once For Me by Alison Cochrane. I gave this one 3.8 stars. I did enjoy it quite a lot. There was a bunch of like casual representation, which is always really good. There was lesbian, bisexual, demisexual, non-binary, transgender. There's some others I'm forgetting, but there was also anxiety or like GAD rep, which is good too. So loads of casual representation. There were Phoebe Bridgers, Ariana Grande, Taylor Swift, Gilmore Girls references, which I mean all of those are like right up my street. Just throw Gracie Abrams in there and I'm set. I only got 3.8 because I didn't love it. Like, I wasn't obsessed with it. I feel like there was just something missing. I don't know what it is. I just feel like there was something missing. There could have been more. The next book I finished was Atomic Habits by James Clear. I have been reading this one all month. It was the book that I was reading in the morning, or I would read 1 chapter when I woke up. So this is basically a book about how to break bad habits, build good habits, the science behind habits, etc, etc. So yeah, it was a good read that gives you some good tips on forming healthy habits. The one thing that I just didn't like, again, there's no rating for this one because it's non-fiction, there was so many real life references and real life stories that I just didn't care about. Like, that's not why I was there. I don't care. I just tell me how to do it. The next book was Loath to Love You by Ali Hazelwood. This is the new like collection of short stories, or like the STEM novellas in one book. Read this on my Kindle. I downloaded it to start reading it, or to read it in the Gracie queue when I went to see her last weekend. I ended up only reading 44 pages. But then I did finish it like the next day. I just read the whole thing. Liked the first two stories. Oh, I gave this one 3 stars, by the way. I liked the first two stories a lot more, and I would definitely read like full books on those two couples. However, the third one, just, I didn't like that one. I don't know why. I don't know if it was the characters or like the situation, but I wasn't a fan of that one. So yeah, the last one was a bit boring for me. But the first two I really enjoyed. So now the last 3 books that I have read in January, I am trying to finish the Chatter Me series. Like, I'm just reading all the books back to back now. I started the Chatter Me series like a year ago, and I just want to finish it. So that's what I'm doing. So first of all, I read Destroy Me, which is one of the novellas. I gave this one 4 stars. It's from Aaron's point of view, and I love Aaron. It was really, really nice to get like a deeper insight into him and like his emotional well-being and like just his emotions. He doesn't show many emotions like in this series. It was really nice to like read his thoughts and his feelings and see how deep his love for Juliet is. I really enjoyed that. I love Warner. It's a good one. Then Fracture Me. I read these ones out of order because they were supposed to be like before, but I've read them after, so I just read them both at the same time. So Fracture Me was next. I gave this one 3 stars. This one was from Adam's point of view, and I don't know if this is unpopular opinion or not, I'm not sure, but I don't think anything will make me like that man. I just don't think it ever will. That man is insufferable. He really is. I don't like him. So it was good, but just because of him. 3 stars. The very last book that I've read in January, hopefully I can get this done because my battery is dying again, was Restore Me. So this is like the next book in the Chatter Me series. I gave it 4 stars. This one was a lot focused on Juliet's past, and I feel like the plot twists surrounding that were really good. It was kind of insane, and definitely the ending. The ending, I was like, what the fuck just happened? And I immediately wanted to move on to Defy Me, which I did. I enjoyed learning more about Juliet's past, and yeah, wasn't my favourite. I still gave it 4 stars because it was really good, and the ending kind of pulled it up. Otherwise it would have been 3. That was the last book I read in January. That is the 22 books that I read in January. Yeah, hopefully I would do one of these every month, and yeah, let me know how many books you read in January. And yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give a thumbs up and subscribe down below. You can follow me on my TikTok and my Bookstagram. Bookstagram is great if you want to see what I am currently reading, etc. Yeah, follow me on those down below, and I will see you guys very soon for a brand new video. Bye!